was delivered to the bank executive. AIT's Obina tells us more.
According to CP Fatai Tijani, the state command under 2 weeks made an impressive statement through intelligence gathering, arrested 4 suspects along Lekki axis last Sunday with a lorry filled with bales of military camouflage, suspected hard drugs in cartons as they made their ways out of the state.
We got the information and we swung into action. The vehicle that was conveying this, the lorry that was conveying the sacks to, well, we wouldn't know. All we know is that it's going through area like Lekki to Ekpe outside Lagos. I believe they are moving outside Lagos.
This latest incident involving the threat to the life of a senior banking executive following a package sent to him containing 2 live cartridges is what the CP has assured that the matter is ongoing, with the police digging deeper into the incident.
In a particular house on the island, we have the information that there are lots of foreign nationals within the occupying that kind of that particular building. There we went to do action again.
The CP, however, assured Mushin residents and Lagosians at large of their safety and that the police investigation into the Mushin incident is still ongoing. Obiunume, AIT News, Lagos.
A deadlier dimension to the insecurity in Nigeria's northwest has emerged. Bandits are now deploying improvised explosive devices during attacks. Zamfara State Police Command Mohammed Bello reveals a dangerous collaboration between bandit gangs and Boko Haram and ISWAP. The goal, according to him, is to acquire expertise in manufacturing landmines, as explained in this exclusive interview with AIT's Damina Yusuf.
What started as resource dispute has fully radicalized. Years of farmer-header clashes have evolved into complex terrorism. By 2011, it was a cattle rustling and vigilante reprisals. Today, it is mass abductions, extortion, and illegal taxation. The terror spans Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, Kebbi, but security agencies says the threat is not much deadlier. Bandit groups are now burying IEDs along major transit routes. Both security forces and civilians are now prime targets. The late head of Zamfara's bomb disposal unit, one of these, Superintendent Abdulrazak Musa, foresaw this threat before his recent death.
Through a similar road, he was able to unearth 4 in the past.
Until his death, Musa and his team saved countless lives. They repeatedly detect and neutralize explosives across the state.
In the past, they had no skill of fabricating IED and landmine. But because of the partnership and networking between them and Boko Haram and ISWAP, they were able to acquire the technology before he left. He mentioned something to me. He said, "Sir, my greatest fear is this. These people are advancing." And they were quite aware of the rainy season. And the battery, they were able to cut a plastic bottle, inserted the battery and connected it with all the relevant wires, sellotape it and cover it appropriately that water isn't going to penetrate because of the rainy season. So he said he was afraid. If we don't get these people as soon as practicable, there is every possibility that they are likely to move forward.
Police are fighting back against these bomb networks. Commissioner Mohammed Bello says major breakthroughs are now being met.
Reason why it is now improvised explosive devices and landmines. We've taken the fight to their enclave.
Investigators have identified 9 key IED manufacturing suspects. 8 are already in police custody. Only 1 suspect remains at large. The police says it is stepping up its technical capacity to counter the new tactics of the terrorists. The police commissioner vowed that the final suspect will fall. Manhunts are currently intensified across the region to track him down. As tactics evolve, the pressure on security forces intensified. Damina Yusuf, AIT News, Gusau.
Advocates are calling for an end to harmful widowhood practices that violate the rights and dignity of women, urging government and traditional institutions to review customs that subject widows to discrimination and abuse. The call came as stakeholders commemorated World Widows Day.
My husband, cousins, not even the immediate brothers, we are dragging that they should give them my husband property, right from his house down to the rest of the properties he has.
Like many widows across Nigeria, that was the painful reality for Grace Ede. Losing a spouse is one of life's most painful experiences. But for many widows, the grief of losing a husband is often compounded by harmful traditional practices, social stigma, and economic hardship.
In my own case, it was hell. It was hell. I lost everything, but glory be to God.
So many women out there that don't even have a voice. So, and they should get, go into the hinterland, all the suburbs to get women empowered.
Advocates say some widows are denied inheritance, forcefully evicted from their homes, or subjected to degrading treatment by relatives of their late husbands. Stakeholders are therefore calling for greater awareness, stronger legal protections, and the review of traditions that undermine the dignity of widows.
Most times it is not about women not even getting recognized or widows not being taken care of. It is in fact the policies just work against them.
I believe that the stigma against widowhood should be stopped and abolished. And one way we can do that is to come up with policies and legislations that would help the widows, and also educate women.
As the world marks World Widows Day, advocates say protecting widows from discrimination and harmful practices is not only a human rights issue, but a necessary step towards building a more just and inclusive society.
The Federal High Court in Abuja has refused an application by former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai seeking a review of his bail conditions in the ongoing alleged wiretapping trials. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik held that the existing bail terms remain valid, dismissing the defense's argument that the conditions were too stringent and difficult to meet. Justice Abdulmalik ruled that Level 17 civil servants who own property in Maitama or Asokoro, as required by the bail terms, are available and capable of meeting the conditions. El-Rufai's counsel, Paul Irokoro, had urged the court to vary the bail conditions, particularly the requirement for sureties who are Level 17 civil servants with landed properties in Maitama or Asokoro, alongside verification and attestation letters from the Kaduna State Traditional Council. However, Council for the State Security Services, Oluwole Aladedoye, opposed the applications, insisting that qualified public officers who meet the requirement exist and urging the court to dismiss the request. Meanwhile, the State Security Services formally closed its case against El-Rufai at Tuesday's proceedings after informing the court that it would not call additional witnesses. Following the closure of the prosecution's case, the defense indicated its intention to file a no-case submission, arguing that the DSS had failed to establish sufficient evidence to warrant El-Rufai entering a defense. The defense requested 2 weeks to file the application, while the prosecution asked for an additional 2 weeks to respond. The matter was subsequently adjourned to 22nd of September for the filing of the no-case submission and further proceedings. And that is the world news on Kakaaki, the African Voice. Thank you for staying with us. Up next is Kakaaki Business.
Kakaaki Business. The UK total order book balance fell to -45 in June 2026 from -41 in May, the lowest since September 2020 and worse than market expectations of -35. Output volumes dropped across most sectors, with food, drink and tobacco, mechanical engineering, paper, printing and media, and metal products among the hardest hit. Export demand also weakened, with export order books falling to -33 and remaining well below long-term averages. Firms continue to describe both domestic and overseas orders as below normal levels, reflecting fragile global demand conditions. Despite the downturn, selling price expectations remain elevated at 22, although this is a sharp easing from May's 38. The S&P Global US Manufacturing PMI increased to 55.7 in June 2026 from 55.1 in May, surpassing market forecast of 54.8 and reaching its highest level since May 2022. The expansion signifies that factory businesses conditions have improved continuously since last August, with growth steadily accelerating from the recent low point in February, driving this upward momentum. Production growth accelerated at the fastest pace since July 2021, propelled by the largest surge in new orders since April 2022. Additionally, input inventories experienced their biggest increase since May 2025, marking the second steepest rise in the history of the survey. And in Germany, the S&P Global Flash Germany Composite PMI fell from 48.8 in May, missing market expectations of 49.9. The reading signaled a third consecutive month of contraction in private sector activity and the steepest decline since December 2024. The downturn was driven primarily by the services sector, where the PMI fell to 46.8 from 48.1, its lowest level in 43 months, while manufacturing output expanded at a slightly faster pace. The weakness reflected subdued underlying demand, with new business inflows declining for a fourth straight month and at the fastest pace since December 2024, amid deteriorating economic conditions and heightened market uncertainty. Nigeria's push towards a cleaner energy future is gaining momentum, with effort to establish a regulatory framework for a low-carbon hydrogen economy once again taking center stage. Speaking at a 3-day workshop on the low-carbon hydrogen economy in Abuja, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Kingsley Tochukwu, said the proposed national hydrogen policy is at an advanced stage and will provide a framework needed to attract investment, drive innovation and facilitate the development of large-scale hydrogen projects across the country. Hydrogen is becoming increasingly central to Nigeria's energy transition plans, with the country exploring the potential of both blue hydrogen derived from natural gas and green hydrogen produced from renewable energy sources. Backed by more than 209 trillion cubic feet of proven natural gas reserves, Nigeria is looking to leverage its vast resources and strategic partnership to establish a competitive hydrogen economy. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, speaking through the Permanent Secretary, said greater attention must be given to infrastructure, research and development, skills acquisition and the creation of incentives needed to unlock growth across the hydrogen value chain.
Where coordination is needed between our regulators, this government will provide it. Where political will is required to move a decision from committee to commitment, this government will provide that too.
Director General of the Energy Commission of Nigeria, Mustafa Abdullahi, said work is already underway on a national hydrogen policy that will provide a regulatory framework needed to attract investment and drive the development of a sustainable hydrogen industry.
We must take advantage of this. We must take the lead, particularly in Africa. We want Nigeria to be the highest, or to be a hydrogen hub where we can not just utilize hydrogen, but to export hydrogen to our other African countries. And that's why we're here to develop this capacity and also create a roadmap towards the hydrogen economy in Nigeria.
The roadmap is expected to strengthen the country's position as a potential hydrogen hub in Nigeria, expand export opportunities, and contribute to Nigeria's goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2060. The Central Bank of Nigeria has taken its campaign for currency respect straight to the classroom, inaugurating the Naira Ambassadors Club, a youth-led initiative targeting the everyday abuse of Nigeria's legal tender. Governor Olayemi Kadoso says the club is more than money. It is about building a generation that treats the Naira as a national symbol that it is.
At parties, in markets, and across daily transactions, the Naira has long endured rough handling, sprayed, mutilated, stapled, and crumpled by the very people it serves. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria is pushing back through the young. 175 students from 7 schools have been selected to form the Naira Ambassadors Club, a CBN initiative to restore respect for the nation's currency and educate the public on proper handling.
You will educate your classmates on why banknotes should not be written on, stapled, mutilated, or sprayed at social events. You will encourage responsible currency handling in your homes and communities. Above all, you will demonstrate through your own conduct that patriotism is expressed not only in grand gestures, but in the everyday habits that protect our shared national heritage.
Deputy Governor for Currency Operations, Osoro, says students are positioned as frontline advocates, challenging the everyday habits that drive up currency replacement costs and erode confidence in the Naira.
So today's inauguration is just the beginning of this advocacy. We envision the Naira Ambassadors Club growing into a vibrant platform that inspires civic responsibility, financial literacy, and patriotism among students across the country. Students, do we all agree with that? Thank you.
We want a situation where we catch them young, because we are not happy with the way Nigerians are handling our Naira, who's supposed to be our national identity and our pride. So, and as such, we want to try as much as possible to start with the younger generations, who of course have a very great impact on the community, on their families.
The students have this to say.
Like my parents, family, friends, those of them that usually like squeeze paper. So I plan on telling them that it's not good. They should learn how to take care of our money.
Or written down on something like repaying on the Naira. So I feel that I'll uphold the Naira by telling my friends and families that Naira is a symbol of Nigeria's independence and national economics.
For the CBN, the Naira Ambassadors Club is a long game, raising a generation that understands the Naira is not just money. It is a national symbol worth protecting.
Nigeria infrastructure gap remains one of the biggest constraints to economic growth, affecting everything from transportation and electricity to water supply and industrial productivity. With government resources unable to meet the enormous financing requirements, attracting private capital has become increasingly critical to closing the country's infrastructure deficit. To address this challenge, the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission has unveiled a new model, public-private partnership agreements aimed at creating a more predictable and investor-friendly framework for infrastructure development.
Agreement provides a dependable point of departure, a shared national baseline grounded in Nigerian law, discipline risk allocation, and global good practices from which every MDA can negotiate with greater speed, security, and sophistication.
The Solicitor General of the Federation, Beatrice Jedi Agba, says the framework will help drive accountability, boost investors' confidence, and deliver value for money.
Where this ministry, the Ministry of Justice, plays a critical, non-negotiable role in mitigating risk, scrutinizing indemnity clauses, and structuring robust dispute resolution mechanisms to ensure that the federal government is fully protected from predatory litigation, sovereign default.
And change it. That's not been feasible. The DG is probably working on that now, and we'll like to see how much push we can give to them. The next thing, we have a national policy. The policy provides what is not in the law. It tells you how to implement the law, because the law essentially says every MDA should determine what project it wants to do, but it doesn't say how you can do it. That's why you have to rely on the policy.
For Nigeria, the challenge has never been a shortage of infrastructure needs or policy ambitions, but translating those ambitions into bankable projects that attract investment and deliver results. The Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission believes the new model PPP agreement can help bridge that gap by providing greater certainty for investors and stronger safeguard for the public. And that's Kakaaki Business. Good morning.
The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our government seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go. Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it was for that reason in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel live.
My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda, women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted.
All right, welcome back from business break. We'll take you to Rivers State this morning, where the premises of a 3-story building under construction in Port Harcourt has been sealed by the Rivers State government. Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Amariga Edward Had, says the directive was to enable the ministry to undertake a thorough investigation on the possible causes of the collapsed structure. We have our reporter, Chibuchi Chuku, that has reported on this.
The collapsed section of the 3-story building is situated at Molumini Community, Obiapo local government area of Rivers State. Residents of the area say construction work began on a fast tempo early this year before a section of the building collapsed on Monday afternoon.
The people where they work for there, as then they hear something where they do karakara, so everybody just leaves there before the thing happen. So nobody went for there.
The boys are work there that Sunday or Friday thereabouts. They have finished their job, so they are about to go there yesterday. They were preparing. So we are here. They run outside. As immediately they came out, they asked me, "Madam, please, where is the entrance of this compound? Being this one that is behind the house." I told them. Then run down there. Before we came out, we saw the house. We just had noise. Everything was down.
The Rivers State Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development, Amriye Edward Hart, who ordered the immediate sealing of the premises, said the directive is to allow for thorough investigation in order to ascertain the causes of the collapse building.
Well, that definitely we are still investigating, and we'll get to the office and ensure that we go to the drawing boards to see if he has approval or not.
All right, we'll bring you one more story before our social intervention segment. This one is coming from Benue State, as the Australian government has committed to providing support for peace building and economic cooperation with Benue State. Australian Ambassador to Nigeria, Peter Gushabara, announced this during a visit to the government house in Makurdi.
One of the key reasons for the visit, as outlined by the Austrian ambassador to Nigeria, was the mediation meeting currently being hosted in collaboration with the Foundation for Justice, Peace and Development of the Catholic Diocese of Makurdi and Austria's development partner, Mesorio. He added that Austria was also interested in exploring broader areas of collaboration, leveraging its industrial capacity and expertise while partnering with Benue's rich agricultural resources and hardworking population for mutual benefit.
That we can explore more ways of how we can cooperate. Austria, with all its industrial potential and all the great companies that we have, and the state of Benue with its rich and fertile agricultural land, and it's hardworking people.
Responding on behalf of the state governor Hyacinth Alia, his deputy Sam Ode describes the ambassador's visit as a reflection of the growing importance of international cooperation in addressing development and humanitarian challenges, particularly in the areas of peace building, mediation, social cohesion, and community resilience.
I want to appreciate you for the intervention you're having here with Justice and Peace Office, and also the kind of fellowship you have instilled in the area of investment.
The ambassador was accompanied on the visit by the political advisor at the Austrian Embassy, Lucas Tune. Dofan Aga, AIT News, Makurdi.
Hello everyone and welcome to Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Dolly Phillips. Now everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Hello my alphas. Again, we're going to be working on the mats today. We'll have 2 workouts. A tiger crunch, touch those ankles, yes, and send it out. Tiger crunch and a bird dog. Are we ready? Your time starts now. Come on, tiger crunch. At 30 seconds, we're going to move to the other side. All right? I will certainly let you know. Touch those ankles and extend. Make sure the hand that's supporting you is firm on the floor. How many seconds do we have left? We have 10 more seconds here. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Good, 30 seconds. Switch, ankle, extend. Very good. Make your body as long as a pencil. You might be shaking all over the place. That's fine. Just stay with it. Stay the course. Come on. We're working abs here. We're working back here. We're working your core muscles. All those stability muscles in play. Keep going. We have 7 seconds left. Come on. That tick, tick, tick's coming. And time. Super job. Well done. Well done. I hope you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye.
Any prince that is in charge of any community, any kingdom, any system must understand that the act of peace is critical for progress to happen within those domains, which means that nations of the world that progress powerfully were nations who did not witness a lot of chaos. So what that means in literature is the fact that nations have to be peaceful for business to happen, for commerce to happen, for people to be able to move around to go about their daily business without any interruption. The same way nations have to be calm to be able to allow for commerce to thrive. It's the same way individuals who say they want to lead, they must understand that leadership comes from a place of peace, calmness of the leader, or is it the calmness of the leader? So the leader understands my leadership. Inside of the leader is quietness, silence. So what that means is that the leader now can think clearly. The leader now can generate full ideas that can engage other people, and then he or she can now be in a place where value can come out, because there's peace, there's calm, and guess what? Ideas are generated in a place of peace. So every leader who is peaceful inside is a leader who is productive, is a leader who generates value, is a leader who is actually leading in all ramification. But everywhere you go to and there's chaos, there's noise. You see an individual who doesn't have time to reflect, sit down, and stay in that place of calm. And such a leader, most of the time, do not have the peace of mind to generate sustainable ideas that can save organization from failure.
Have you ever wondered why it is so difficult for you to handle grief when a family member or a close friend passes away? You see, there is a saying that life is not fair, so get used to it. How fair is that statement really? When something as sweeping as death happens, it's easy to lose your balance and get lost inside and outside of you. Why do people have to die? Why do they have to be ripped from the embrace of the ones who love them? There's no real satisfying answer, and asking why only worsens the pain. Now, what do you need to do to overcome grief? Express yourself. Talking is often a good way to soothe painful emotions. Talking to a friend, family member, doctor, or counselor can begin the healing process. Allow yourself to feel sad. It's natural. It's a healthy part of the grieving process. Keep your routine up. Keeping up simple things like walking, exercising, dancing can help, though it could be very difficult. Sleep. Emotional strain can affect you so badly, but if you're having trouble sleeping, see a doctor. Eat healthy. A well-balanced diet will help you cope. Avoid things that numb the pain. It will make you feel worse once the numbness wears off. Go to counseling if it feels right for you, but perhaps not straight away. Counseling may be more useful after a couple of weeks or months. Only you will know when you're ready. Honestly, that's my 2 kobo.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. In today's global economy, information is everywhere, but insight is rare.
Because of the high rate of fuel, the cost of commodities, cost of everything in this country is high.
This is unacceptable because Nigerians cannot be made to suffer every time.
So, where do you turn for clarity? The right questions.
What is in need for Nigerians? Let's really break it down. Income strata-wise, revenue strata-wise for companies.
What are some of the inhibitions that are not making trade work for all?
The real answers.
Stimulus package must take a different shape beyond what we have seen in sharing of rice, sharing of money.
Nancy brings it to you on Moneyline with Nancy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Moneyline with Nancy.
Clear, well-researched conversations focused on what truly impacts you.
Is it that we don't know the number of MSMEs we have in the country, or we don't know where they are?
I don't think we can identify 40-something million MSMEs as a people and as a country.
Nigeria has the policy framework in place to be a leader on this approach. You can make farmers bankable.
Moneyline with Nancy now airs 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Weekdays, live on AIT and online. If it matters to the economy, join us.
All right, thank you so much for being there and welcome. It's now newspaper o'clock on Kakaaki, the African Voice. Usually we do not review this alone. We have our seasoned reviewers who join us. We have newspaper columnist this morning, Simon Reef Musa, and his co-reviewer. Good morning, senior editor with This Day, Yobusa Nwajere. Good morning, you two, for joining us and welcome.
Good morning.
All right, let's cross over now to the pages of the newspapers. We start with Daily Newscraft. It says U.S. names 3 persons, 6 companies as terrorism financiers. Mukhtar Mohammed, 3 Nigerian bureau de changes inclusive. You find details on page 2 of the paper. To Daily Sun, it says fight against terrorism, U.S. names Nigerian. 2 others, 6 entities as ISIS financiers. For more, you find details on page 6 of Daily Sun this morning. To Daily Global, it says U.S. releases identities of Nigerian firms designated as terrorist financiers. Same story is how leadership is leading this morning, saying U.S. naming of Nigerian 3 BDCs as ISIS financiers raises concern. Page 4 has details. To Nigerian pilot, lingering insecurity, Tinubu transmit state police bill to Senate, 6 end to centralized policing as part of move to reform Nigeria's security architecture. That's one of the riders. Page 4 has more on that story. To the authority, it says Tinubu sent state police bill to Senate, seeks amendment of 1999 Constitution. That's how this Nigeria 2 leads. It says state police Tinubu kickstart process, sends bill to Senate. Lawmakers worried over governor's potential abuse. Page 2 has the details. To the Daily Monitor, Tinubu transmits state police bill to Senate for consideration, says proposed legislation to create a constitutional pathway for establishment of state police services in Nigeria. To the Nigerian News Direct, it says Tinubu submits constitutional amendment bill for state police to National Assembly. For details, you may want to check page 17 of the paper today. Because it's Wednesday, Al Jazeera Midweek says after reps, Senate to pass state police bill today. Akpabio urges broad support to secure passage. Page 9 has details. Observer's Time says Akpabio back state police slams 65-year delay, says many want to go home without fear after office. 2/3 of senators needed to pass amendment Wednesday. Its first page has details. Green, White, Green, GWG.ng of one of our reviewers. It says aggrieved ex-NDC Senate aspirant sues to freeze party account. It also says Tinubu forwards state police bill to Senate. We'll now talk some money, beginning with the business NG. It says over 91% of cash circulates outside banks despite CBN cashless push. And then the Standard Times Nigeria says federal government moves to address cement price surge, sets July 1 talks with manufacturers. Daily Independent, poor coordination, policy gaps cripple textile sector. Tinubu courts global investors, backs digital future for Nigerian youth. This is now the Daily Asset. It says MasterCard trains 5 million businesses in digital skills. Presidency says reforms driving formalization, fintech growth. That's on page 2 of Daily Asset today. And those are the papers we're looking at this morning. We'll now come to our reviewers. Simon Reef, we're looking at the story on Daily Newscraft, Daily Sun, Daily Global, as well as Leadership. It says U.S. names 3 persons, 6 companies as terrorism financiers.
Yeah, it's a welcome development and demonstrates the determination and resolve of the United States to identify those behind terrorism. I think the most important thing here is that 3 BDCs and also 1 Nigerian have been identified as financiers. Much as this is encouraging, we in Nigeria are supposed to also ensure that we also name our own financiers that are sponsoring terrorism. Because I think since the last administration of General Muhammadu Buhari, there were these reports that he would soon release those financiers. Up to the time he died, we never had much. And by the time this present administration released them, they were more like the cannon fodders of terrorism. But what we need is those who enable terror attacks, those who are sponsoring them. So I call on the president, I call on the Nigerian government to take a cue from what the U.S. has done by coming out clearly to name those behind terrorism in this country. So I commend the United States of America for doing that, and I hope our own country will do the same.
Okay, we'll come to you, and I think it's just a good place to introduce one of our core reviewers online already. It says, please, it is not only to name that will end terrorism, but to prosecute them to deter others from doing the same thing. People will argue that this is not the first time we are getting names of terrorism financiers or people practicing non-state actors, really. But again, we're here with names.
Well, I think the story coming from the U.S. Reinforces our consistent argument here that for us to be able to deal with the issue of terrorism, we need to look at it from all angles, maybe from the physical battle against the terrorists, those who are financing it, and that in doing that, everybody should be involved. It also shows that the war against terrorism is a global effort. No country can do it alone. Because if you look at the terrorism strategic positions of the U.S., they say that wherever terrorism or terrorists are found anywhere in the world, that they will go after them. So I think that is a good place to start. So we need everybody. We need all the efforts, both at the regional level, at the state level, at the global level, to be able to defeat terrorism wherever they are. I talk about the physical fight against terrorists, which the military is doing quietly, doing very well. But there are other agencies that should be involved. The CBN should be involved. The regulatory agencies should be involved. The NFIU, the EFCC, those who are involved in monitoring financial transactions within the country should be involved in detecting those who are behind this. Because unless we do that, then it's going to be very difficult for us to fight this terrorism. Look at the bureau de change that we're talking about in Nigeria. It operates as if it's unregulated, market. If you go to Wuse Zone 4 here, for example, if I have about 100 million naira today, I can go to Zone 4 there and convert it to dollars or pounds or euro, So I think what we need to do is that those who are charged with the responsibilities of regulating money market should ensure that the market is well regulated, so that when there are movements of funds from one bank to others, then the NFIU, the EFCC, and other financial institutions should be able to track the movement and find out what the money is being used for. This report, has huge implications, both for our financial market and, for the global community. It shows that henceforth, all the foreign agencies will now scrutinize transactions in Nigeria. It means that investors who are coming to Nigeria to invest will also be very wary about what kind of investment are they going to invest in Nigeria. For me, I think it's a bad news, but it's also good that the federal government should take these things very seriously and find a way to cooperate with regional governments, global community, in ensuring that those who are responsible for these terrorism in Nigeria are defeated. I keep on talking about this idea of, we must dialogue with some terrorists, some repentant. And my position is that those people that the terrorists should dialogue with is God. And the security agencies, I'm talking of the police, the military, the police, have a huge responsibility to fast-track this meeting with God. And that's the only person they should dialogue with. Of course, if you are going to dialogue with God, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So I'm saying that the military, the police, the DSS, and civil defense have a huge responsibility to quickly fast-track their meeting with God. And that's the only way we can begin to tackle these terrorisms, So, like I said, the U.S. effort is a huge effort, and the federal government or the security agencies within the country must follow it up. Find out those who are responsible. How those companies that they just mentioned were able to transact business without EFCC or NFIU being able to track such funds. Why do we require a U.S. agency, for example, to be able to alert us about this transaction when the transactions are being done in Nigeria here? What happened to CBN? What happened to EFCC? What happened to NFIU? What happened to other anti-fraud units, security agencies in Nigeria? How come they were able to track such transactions? Why do we require the U.S., for example, to alert us on these things? It shows there are some issues within our regulatory framework, and that must be tightened up if we want to fight this terrorism war.
And I think that one of the concerns that is being raised here is that this is a terror financing network in the Lake Chad Basin, which further maybe just suggests that terrorism in Nigeria is not solely a local problem. Like insecurity or banditry, they are not Nigerians, as we have been saying. And one person is asking for the name right there to be mentioned. Mukhtar Adamu Mohammed, that is the name the U.S. has provided at 9 BDCs. Also, their names outlined there. But what has happened to the ones that at least the UAE gave to us? So this might just be one for the books again and nothing ever happens to them. But maybe we have to run to our second conversations. I see that...
Well, I think we should quickly just mention that.
Yeah.
That those who were, that the UAE mentioned,
yeah.
I think when this government came to power, we must give credit to the current Attorney General of the Federation. Some of those people who were involved were actually charged to court. As I speak to you, I'm aware that some of them have been tried at the Federal High Court.
How many years after?
Yeah, that's the point we are making. Under Buhari, 8 years. That was when those people were named. Buhari and Malami, who was there as Attorney General, and part of the reason why Malami is being prosecuted in court today, but while he was Attorney General, he found it very difficult to drag those guys to court. It was when this government came to power that the office of the Attorney General under Fagbemi ensured that those people were charged to court. And as I speak to you, I have it on record that some of them, it might not be all of them, some of them are being charged. I mean, some of them are being tried at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Kudos to the current Attorney General of the Federation.
All right. Simon Reef, Tinubu has transmitted state police bill to the Senate. We're looking at Pilot Authority, This Nigeria, Daily Monitor, Nigeria News Direct, Al Jazeera Midweek, and a host of other papers.
Yeah, against the backdrop of insecurity in some part of this country, I think the transmission of the amendment of the Nigerian Constitution to include state police is a welcome development. It is more of a consensus across, whether the executive, whether the governors. It's even been said that as the Senate debates on that bill today, maybe they may even pass it. So it's to tell you that there's already a consensus that we need state police. But I think the problem is that what type of state police, I mean, looking at what has happened, how will that state police help in combating insecurity in Nigeria? I think there's a basic problem. And we've already seen people running up, like the Hunters Association are saying they want to be a part of it because they've been a part of trying to secure the forests. So whether that happens, but I think one thing I must quickly point out is that it should not be allowed to be managed by politicians. When things like this happen, there is a tendency the governors may be prone to bring in people that are close to them. It may be taken as more of a political advantage to ensure they carry along their members. I think, but that should not be. I also call on the security forces, especially the DSS, the police, the army, to ensure that those that will form that state police are well profiled. It should not be just job for the boys, or people running around to ensure, oh, since it is a salary job, you get a lot of criminals that may also find their way there. Because we are having a problem with the police is because people that get into the police force bribe their way. So let's hope at the state level, if the bill is eventually passed, we don't allow people who will get there and just continue, just seeing it as a job. And then make sure that, because money, the enthronement of money is more of something that most Nigerians are in love with. It should not be a thing where people can just go in there and get rich. So I really commend the president and those stakeholders that have ensured that this bill is finally passed to the Senate. They should quickly do it. Of course, there are fears that some of the governors may take advantage. They may turn it into something to fight political opponent. I think it was the governor of Katsina State, Governor Dikko, who said, allow the state police to be. If that fear that governors will deploy there for their advantage, never worry. After 4 years, after 8 years, they are out. He's out. And then he will be called to account for how he managed the state police. So many people are seeing the state police as a way out of the cough we find ourselves in insecurity. So we keep our hope alive and ensure that and pray that that could be the solution to everything.
All right, I listened to the Senate President yesterday when Tinubu now is asking for urgent consideration. But one thing that Akpabio said yesterday says current governors should not be afraid of the state police they created when they leave office. Now, besides the fear of the possible abuse by governors, in some quarters, since this started gaining momentum and the urgency is now there to pass it, I do not see that it's now looking like the way to go. Like, certainly, it's not looking like the way to go again.
Well, I think if you look at the debates that have been on over the state police, I think there's a near consensus among Nigerians that we should decentralize the operation of the Nigerian police force, even though I have my reservation. In line with that, I was saying we are going to decentralize the operation of the military, of the DSS, of the civil defense, and other security agencies. I was saying that. I have reservations, and I don't believe strongly that decentralizing the police operation will solve the issue of insecurity across the country. But since that is a near consensus by by some stakeholders that we should decentralize the operation of the Nigerian police, I don't have a problem with that. But the process of amending the constitution, we should not rush it. Like so many people reports today, that the bill will be passed today. The law is not just passed, or constitution is not just amended just within 24 hours. Yes, good enough. The president has kicked up the process. Is a good development, but there are so many issues surrounding the proposals, submitted by the committee set up by the president, and some of these proposals are generating huge tensions and controversy. So I think the National Assembly should take their time, if need be, call for a public hearing. Let's also get the input of Nigerians, and other stakeholders in this proposed amendment, so that by the end of the day, we are doing the right thing. So we don't, in an attempt to decentralize the police operation, we are creating more problems. For example, let me give you one example. How you go to fund the Nigerian police? The state police. How you go to fund it? I was saying that, people are already saying that, we should set about 3% of the federal allocation aside, to fund the state police. Ask yourself, with 3%, for example, will it be enough to pay salaries of police at the state level? So that is the issue. How do you also, impute in the amendment a kind of accountability process, so that at the end of the day, those who are responsible in managing the state police, do not abuse it. I think the National Assembly should take their time. They should also call for public hearing, and that's the process of constitutional amendment of making law. There must be input for the members of the public, not just the Senate. Yes, some of them were elected genuinely, to represent the people, but I'm saying that they don't have the monopolies of idea on how these things should be done. There are other stakeholders outside the National Assembly that can also make input. Yeah, it's good. Some of the governors were complaining that, they might not have enough money to finance the state police. As I speak to you, I'm aware of some governors who on a monthly basis collect 1 billion naira for security votes. So I hope that by the time you have the state police, that 1 billion naira that they collect as security votes that go into their private pocket to fund their personal business.
They never audited.
They never, that is not accounted for, will not be channeled towards, financing the state police. But like I said, there must be a thorough process. The National Assembly must organize a public hearing to get the input of so many Nigerians and other stakeholders, so that we don't create more problems for the Nigerian police force.
Okay, I want to add something to what he's just said. I think beyond that, I think we should democratize security management. We should start it from the ward level. We should start it from the lowest point to the highest, not just someone up there, maybe a governor trying to. I know that some of the governors say, well, when you call them chief executive or chief security officers of their state, they will say they are not commanding anything. And if there is something they need to refer to Abuja, the IG may not be there to give an order, and certain things will go wrong. I quite agree that we should not allow this hasty nature of trying to pass things on the altar of scrutiny. We must scrutinize everything. But more importantly, our security will be regained when we take security down to the community, to the ward level. Because if the ward level is secure, then every part of this country is secure. And we should simply avoid this idea of looking at things from the monetary aspect of it. Yes, there are fears, because the fears are that looking at some of these state governors, they may not be able to pay their own state police, and that also create crisis. So certain things must be put in place, and some safety nets created, so that this thing that we've placed our hope on will not, at the end of the day, disappoint us.
All right, let me bring in some of our viewers on YouTube at Africa Independent TV. I'll start from Goche Sunday. He says, I hope we're not creating another problem by trying to solve another problem with state police stuff. Our politicians don't have that maturity. Saliu Olariwaju says, recruitment into the state police should be handled by an HR firm with strict regulations and not be managed solely by the state governors. Chukwuemeka Agbose State Police will go a long way in curtailing the problem of insecurity, no matter the abuse. If governor has immunity, the police head will not have. After his days in office, he will face his misdeeds. And for Jude Victor, he says, if president doesn't misuse federal police, why are people saying the governors will? Is it not what the president is to Nigeria that governors are to their various state chief security officers? And then this user, Idris, says, the then Minister of Defense should be made to answer some questions. Abonyi Francis says, thank you, Ogarif. It's better to have state police and power consecrated in the hands of a few elected individuals with tenure term in office than to allow non-state actors keep killing and oppressing. Emmanuel Idiala says, would the politicians allow state police to survive? Also, would it be properly founded? Is it founded or funded? Extortion is going to increase in the country. The government should decentralize the management of policing. And then for Antonio Concord, the state governors will ultimately weaponize the state police against political opponent. Those are some of the thoughts coming from YouTube right there. Let's now talk some money. We'll cross over to the business NG. It says over 91% of cash circulates outside banks despite CBN cashless push. Yobusa.
Yeah, I listened to the Minister of Finance about a few days ago, just 2 days ago, who said that in order to also be part of the effort to also reduce these financings of terrorism, they also need to mop up huge circulations of cash that is, money that is circulating within the economy. Yeah, it's a good development because these days people still not used to these cashless policies. Some of them prefer to keep their money in their houses than take it to the bank. And so, on the basis of that, you see huge amount of money, cash, that are not being monitored by the CBN, circulating within our economy. For me, is a problem. Is it because people don't have confidence in bank that they don't take money to the bank, or what happened? For me as a person, I don't need a government or CBN to tell me that I should, start implementing cashless policy. Because if you come to my house today, I can tell you, you're not going to see 20,000 naira cash with me at home. The money you keep at home is money you use in buying bread in the morning and all that. Apart from that, if you come to my house, you're not going to see 20,000 naira cash with me. It's not just possible. So people have different reasons. In Nigeria, we like cash, and that's why you can go to a hotel or go to a club, go to a meeting or wedding. You see somebody, spraying almost about 2 or 3, 4 million naira. And the question you ask yourself, is that madness? Does that make sense? Like I said, it's a huge challenge. And in spite of that, the government, the CBN, the regulatory money agencies, should find a way to also begin to address that. There was a time that the FCC was after those who are spraying bundles. Now they don't spray note now. They now spray bundles. Mm-hmm. When I mean bundles, somebody went for a burial of one of the late popular actor who died recently. You know, it was a mourning environment, but this guy was spraying bundles of a bundle of about 500,000 naira each to somebody at that event. There was a time the EFCC was after them. I don't know why they stopped. If you go to party now, what you see is obscene. And there's no decent society that does that. Somebody said, oh, it's part of Nigerian culture. Which culture? Culture that celebrates spraying of cash at every event. What are we telling the students? What are we telling the young ones who are growing up? They want to be like, when they grow up, they want to imbibe that kind of culture. Is that the kind of culture that we want to transfer to the coming generation? But I think if it is a culture, then it is a very bad culture. And the EFCC and other security agencies must find a way to curb such activities in an event. It's obscene. Not just that. If you go to a street now, you see people hawking new notes. New notes. Go to Wuse there. Go to every part of Abuja.
Even at events.
At the event, they hawk new notes. Maybe a bundle of about 500. They'll be selling it for about 150,000 naira. You know, we're in a decent society. I was in UK recently. I wanted to buy something, phone, with my car. But of course, my car was misbehaving. And when I was living in Nigeria, I had one 50 naira pounds, 50. And I presented it. Somebody looked at me and said, please, can you step aside from the queue? We'll attend to you later. Because they were wondering what kind of human being that would bring 50 pounds note to buy something at the shop. Most of the currency they use there is 20 pounds and other. So when I brought 50 pounds note that I wanted to use it, they asked me to step aside. And the person now called his manager to come and attend to me. See, the question asked, are you a Nigerian? I said, yes. Okay. We'll find a way to address that. 50 pounds.
Because they know their citizen will not do that.
Yes, 50 pounds. So, and that is a country that is very serious in monitoring flow of cash, how people move money. You know, even if you want to change your currency to the local currency that you want to use, they will demand for your international passport. And once they scan your passport, your data goes straight to the server of those anti-corruption agencies, so that at a point in time, they will know that the Yobosa was also bureau de change, and it converted about $100 to RMB. They will know. And that's a system that works, because there's a strong framework, that determines how people move money or spend cash. But in our society, anything goes. And
right.
It's not good for us.
Simon Rick.
Well, for us to have over 91% of cash circulating outside the banks, it tells you that the CBN is less effective in managing currency circulation in the country. Now, I have seen some pictures of senators with so much cash. One was distributing over 100 million naira to his constituents members. It was like more of an obscene duel. Obscene, you've never seen it. So when you see a quantum of 100 million and people are coming and they are taking it and giving it physically. Now, why we're having what we're having is because most of these monies are for POS. It's very difficult for you to go to the bank and get money in the ATMs. So there is now a new cabal that ensure that they are in charge of that. Let's ask ourselves, why is it that anytime you go to the bank, you don't have money? If you go to a POS, that is where they attend to you. So it's sure there is a systemic problem, and government must do something about it. Of course, my friend here have said the DSS were going about grabbing people that were spraying money. EFCC. Now, they are even tired because it's everywhere. Who will you catch? Who will you not catch?
So you talk about POS that are responsible for this kind. They are not. Those brand new notes that they hawk on the street are being given to them by the commercial banks. But meanwhile, if you go there to collect cash, they will tell you they don't have cash. They sell those brand notes to those who are hawking it.
The whole thing is that it is a system. We find it very difficult because politicians ensures that they get physical cash. And when they get this physical cash, that's how they attend to their supporters. So if you say stop it today, it won't be stopped. We can only scream and talk and write. Nothing will happen. So it's something, I don't know how Nigeria can tackle it.
But that's sabotaging the efforts of the government.
The government has always been sabotaged. You put certain policies on ground, some other person will go and undermine it. It's not today it started. It has always happened.
Is it government that is sabotaging them?
Eh?
Is it government that is sabotaging the
like
effort?
we and then the stakeholders, like
we
the
and
banks.
yes, the citizens.
It is the politicians themselves. It is the officials of the government that are sabotaging their own effort. I give an example, the recent Ekiti election. I wasn't there. But for those who monitor the election, both local and foreign monitors that monitor the elections, even the security agencies confirmed that there were widespread of vote buyings. People were giving as far as 15,000 naira each to voters to vote for them. You know, the question is you ask yourself, who provided that money? Are they not the politicians? Are they not the government officials that are contesting the election that brought that money? Where did they get that money? Where did they? How did they collect the money from the bank? You know, even when the EFCC were trying to arrest some of them, the politician mobilized the tout to chase the EFCC out of the polling unit. You watched the video. And I just got a statement yesterday from the EFCC that those guys are being tracked and that they will arrest them and make sure that they are prosecuted in court of law. So the point I'm making is that it is the same people who are designing the framework of addressing this problem are the same people abusing the process. I mean, the framework. I think that is a major problem. You know, people who are lawless are the same people designing the framework for solving this problem. And that's why it won't work. It will not work.
Okay. It looks
until we have a very strong system to be able to address some of these issues.
All right. We're looking forward to that strong system, strong institutions, and strong persons also who will not sabotage the effort of the government. We'd like to thank you so much, Simon Rafe Musa, newspaper columnist, and Iyobusa Uwojarin, senior editor with This Day newspaper. Thank you both for your time and insight.
Good morning.
It's been our pleasure and good morning.
All right, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we shall be talking our first conversation this morning, which is about Nigeria's overlapping budget. Stay with us.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT.
All right, thank you so much for being there. We'll cross over to our first conversation this morning, which is on Nigeria's overlapping budget. Yeah, that's because the 2026 budget came into force in April. However, we have portions of the 2023-2024 as well as the 2025 appropriation fiscal frameworks that are still active. Implementation of the 2025 budget is also expected to run to at least September of 2026. We want to look at how Nigeria's National Assembly has over the years faced continued criticism for approving extensions, warning that it severely undermines fiscal discipline, while the lawmakers have blamed the executive for faulty implementation. Everyone is passing the ball to the next person. We're looking at the dangers as well and why this has continued to happen. We'll pick the brain of a fellow Center for Study of Economics of Africa, Tony Bisong, who is joining us virtually. Good morning, Tony, and thank you for joining us on Kakaaki, the African Voice.
Good morning. Good to have you. Thank you.
All right. From what we know about budget, we understand that it's that monetary appropriation that runs for a year only. But are there special cases? What circumstances can make what we have now possible, running concurrently and overlapping budget?
Okay, thank you so very much. I think what is happening to budgets, it's a combination of both structural, institutional, political and macroeconomic factors. First of all, we understand that the budgetary year is between January and December, but unfortunately we've been having over time an overlapping budget. That is the capital component of the budget, maybe due to poor implementation. And then first of all, like I said, the factors include revenue underperformance and fiscal constraint. By that, I mean when you have an ambitious projection by the government, when you have, let's say, for instance, oil production, like the last budget, we had 1.8 million barrels per day. And at the moment, even with the crisis, the Iran-US crisis, we're producing at the peak of 1.4 million barrels per day. Those kind of ambitious projections or assumptions for revenue might not really be the case. And we understand that most times beyond budget approval or maybe assent by the president, there's what we call releases by the Ministry of Finance, which we are still battling with. So when especially the capital components of our budget not really made available, funds are not released to this project, sometimes there's a need for extension, which the National Assembly is doing. But I believe it's because we are not keeping to the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Ideally, the budget is supposed to run from January to December. For instance, the 2026 budget, it was approved after going into 2026. What you expect, you still expect that. And then most times, there's shortfall. I think all of this is tied, first of all, to the issue of transparency. We really don't have a transparent system, of releases. And then recently, if we've been following audit account Nigerian financial reports. The last one that was submitted to the National Assembly was 2023 financial report for the year. So for 2024, 2025, and now we're into 2026, we really don't have our financial report. So all of that accumulates to, the issue of lack of transparency in the process. So I think beyond that, government really needs to do a whole lot of that. And then the delays in approval. We've been having a lot of back and forth, like the 2026 budget, lots of back and forth from the legislature to the legislative arm to as well as the executive arm. But I believe until we get to put all of that together, we'll still continue to experience what is ongoing. And then we also have the issue of cash management and, like I said earlier, fund releases. We understand that there have been lots of loans, but there is no form of accountability. Nobody knows what this loan is funding. If the loans sought by the government is funding the 2023 budget, 2024 budget, or 2025 budget. So until we address that, until there's a synergy between both the legislative arm and the executive, and there's a high level of fiscal responsibility amongst those tiers of government, we might still continue to battle, and we might still continue to be where we are. And then issues of procurement bottlenecks. We understand that before you get a project, especially the capital components, you have to bid. It has to be released. So all those bureaucracy, government bureaucracies are really an issue, and that is why we are still battling, with implementing those budgets. Although the argument from the other arm will say, and because of over time we've been having a lack of full implementation, or like you say, lack of project execution by contractors. So sometimes they might need more time to probably complete maybe whatever tax or whatever contracts they've been given. But I think we can address that. We're a nation that can address that. And until government begins to put all of that together, I think we'll be where we are. From the institutional point of view, we have institutional capacity constraint. First of all, we don't have the technical expertise in designing our budget. Budget is, some of them see them as a yearly ritual, but we have to go beyond that and ensure whatever we are incorporating, the capital components we are incorporating into the budget is something that can be achieved within a period of 1 year. And then we understand the political perspective of it, where most ministry, beyond the maybe appointees and all of that, they lack that clear visionaries and priority settings. So until we get to address all of this, we will still continue to experience overlap in budget. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony, we'd like to understand, is this a universal phenomenon, or is it just a handful of government officials in the business of budget extension?
No, I believe, first of all, it's not a global practice. Even if there are countries who have done this, but I think Nigeria has grown beyond we're having to experience this overlap. I know we're having issues of infrastructural deficits, which I think the overlap covers. Please take note, the overlap is for capital budget, not for recurrent. But I think we can do better. The issue is government needs to be accountable. That is the summary of it. There are countries who are experiencing the same, but I think we should do better as a nation. We should do better as a people, given that it is very important for you to address development is always tied to your level of infrastructure and your level of capital expenditure. But government can do better in terms of releases. I think over time we've had below even 60%, just within 60-70% releases for capital budget. So we can do better. Government can prioritize, pick up projects, priority, and then leadership should be informed. The National Assembly, like I said, beyond personal interest into our collective goals as a nation. So that we have to do with that, And then our contractors need to be accountable, giving out a contract. We need to set all of that up, and bureaucratic processes to awarding contracts needs to be streamlined. So I think with all of that, we can get better. We can get all of this resolved. Thank you.
All right, so for as long as most of us remember, Nigeria has consistently extended its budget implementation cycle, leading to appropriation overlapping. But for example, there are also components of the 2024 and 2025 budget in the 2026 budget as well. So how did Nigeria get itself into this situation?
Yeah, it actually started, way back in 2022. I think, like I said, when you have a bureaucratic process, it's really cumbersome. I don't know if you've had experience of interviewing contractors, working with contractors to see what they go through. So it's a whole lot. I think why we got into this, over time we've had lots of abandoned projects. projects that, have been well awarded way back in some of those 2024, 2023. So we really, like I would say, government needs to be really deliberate. And then with monitoring and accountability, when you award contracts, there's no follow-up on the contractor. So we need to set our system right. We really need to set our system right. So government, like I would always say, and I would always advise, that first of all, our capital budget shouldn't be too ambitious. When you tie and then you don't mix up the revenue, revenue projection for the budget, sometimes you're just left, but you're left with the option than to slack or to probably backtrack in terms of implementation. But government needs to, budgetary process needs to evolve beyond the politicians. It needs technocrats and experts who can look at it and say, yeah, this is what can be implemented. And then this is the revenue, a realistic revenue projections. For instance, we had most times the budget that is passed by the National Assembly is always reversed. And what is often signed by the executive, it's not what there needs to be a form of transparency and set out clear goals and objectives for the budget. So until we get that correctly, we might still have to suffer. And then there should be this push for fiscal coordination. So federal structures, there should be coordination in terms of across ministries and then across budgetary provisions by each MDAs in government. So you should look at, this is too ambitious, we cannot do this. Then just try to prioritize that will drive development and will drive inclusive growth in Nigeria. So until we go beyond that, although there are some factors that might really come out in terms of revenue volatility. For instance, the US-Iran war brought about increase in terms of the cost of crude. The crude price increased. Even if the budgetary provision, what we assumed in the budget is at we assumed $74 per barrel, but it went over 100. So if government at that point can save the excess of that, and then maybe use it to fund capital budget, we wouldn't have that overlap. But I think all of this is tied to the issue of transparency, tied to the issue of coordination by the different MDEs, and until that is addressed, I still have to struggle. Thank you.
All right, we see all of these overlapping. They are happening at a time the federal government is still substantially borrowing to fund budget deficit. Doesn't that make it more imperative to end this budget overlapping soonest?
Yeah, most time, like I said, every borrowing is a price. Sometimes you probably want to borrow, and then how the disbursement, how is this funds or the loans you're seeking, how is it being disbursed? Sometimes it might come a time that you're already, and our budget cycle, like I said, it's not, we can do better. So you have a budget being presented to the National Assembly most times between October, November, December. And then the National Assembly, sometimes you don't really have time to look into it. And then it's been rushed and passed. And then it takes another 3 months for the executive to sign that. It's an issue. And then borrowing, beyond borrowing, like I said, we can't really, I don't know if we can do that better in terms of what are we borrowing to fund? Are we borrowing, for instance, there have been lots of approvals by the National Assembly on government borrowing to fund development. Are they funding the 2023 budget or the 2024 budget or the 2025 budget? We really don't understand. So, like I said, there's a process that Nigerians need to understand. If this is made clear to me and you, we will have this conversation today. But just because it's an opaque system, the system that is not transparent, that lacks transparency. But like I was saying, loans disbursement is not as easy as you might think, or like going to the bank and then picking a form and apply for loan and it's been given to you. So most times it's disbursed in tranches. So you might get that loan and then it doesn't come at the time you really need it. And when it comes, you have no choice than to extend your budget to accommodate that. But like I said, government can do better if we have a streamlined system if we have a revenue projection that probably is very realistic, we can achieve that without having to borrow. Then look at the cost of our debt servicing, it's really high. So in all of that is a system which I believe won't, if we continue this way, and we might have to be experiencing it over time. But if we have a streamlined, a feasible and realistic revenue projection that we can tie to the capital budget, then we can move on. Then priority, it's important to prioritize recurrence, but most often, it's interesting to know that this does not affect recurrence. It only affects the capital budget. And then we are told that the 2025 still runs up until June 30th. We don't know if the 2026 budget, the recurrent component, is already running. So like I said, it's an issue that is characterized with so much uncertainty and so much, lack of transparency until we have at my institution, at Center for the Study of Economics, proposing a fiscal consolidation commission, where they consolidate each of this, from the different NDs in terms of their budget. There's that centralized form of coordination that would ensure there's no need for overlap and, projects that cannot be implemented within the period of the budget cycle, most often it's being addressed. So until that, we still remain where we are. Thank you.
All right, there are people who have blamed the National Assembly for approving extensions, but the National Assembly has also blamed the executive arm of government for faulty implementation of budget. So I'm asking, between the legislative and the executive arm of government, who is responsible for this fiscal discipline? Did you hear me, please?
No, please. Can you please? I think that.
Okay, I'm asking because the National Assembly has suffered criticism for approving extensions of budgets, which has led us to the budget overlap that we have today. But the federal government has also been blamed by these lawmakers for faulty implementation of the budget. So I'm asking, between the legislative and the executive arms of government, who should we blame for this fiscal indiscipline?
Okay, for me, I think both parties have a level of blame. For instance, the executive, when it comes to releases, the National Assembly really don't know what is happening to revenue project, the oil production. They don't know the form of projection in terms of tax, to be remitted to the federal government. They really don't know all of that. But those ambitious projections are being set into the budget by the executive, and they're presented to the National Assembly. I know the argument is, if we continue, most times, if this capital budget is not really implemented within the budget cycle, there might be high risks of budget or project abandonment by the contractors. But it is very important, like I say, being clear. But also the extension should go beyond the political alignment. If the National Assembly is extending the budgetary cycle, maybe within a period, Nigerians should know about that. And it should be a genuine fact and not negligence of releases. So, like I said, it is different to approve. It is a different game to probably approve the budget. It's a different perspective to also ensure releases of those funds. So both parties have their own blame. And like I said, we're still tied to the issue of interest. And until we seek or push towards collective interest, towards in Nigeria that can experience, infrastructural development, we might still continue to have this back and forth. So both parties. So what we need now is like a consolidation. The Consolidation Commission can interface with the National Assembly and then make it very clear. These are the projections we have. This is what the ministries are putting, the MDs are putting for. This is why we need this. But like I said, until we adhere to the fiscal responsibility, which clearly most of the items that was passed by the National Assembly, are the executive living up to it? No, and then are they holding them accountable for not living up to the provisions of that? So until we set all of that out, we might still continue to power. So both parties, and then like I said, there's need for synergy. There's need for synergy between the different arms of government. The need of synergy between the legislative arm and then the executive arm. So until then, I think we might still have this back and forth conversation about budget implementation in Nigeria. And then the implementation is not done by the National Assembly, it is done by the executive. So until then, we'll still have to suffer. Thank you.
All right, we have the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, that has warned the Nigerian government of running overlapping fiscal circles. And some of the reasons they have given, it says it creates policy misalignment, it weakens budget execution, and reduces transparency. Which of these dangers of our practice should we be more scared of?
I think the issue of transparency. We really don't have that. I would sorry to say that. We've really not seen that in this current administration from both the National Assembly and then the executive arm. So we need to be really transparent. And then the issue is, if you want to engage government in, why are they borrowing? What are they borrowing to fund? The general response you get is, we're borrowing to fund development. But which of the budgetary cycle are you doing that? And then issue of misalignment. Yes, we understand the world is evolving, so things are changing. So if we still running 2020, 2022, 2024, 2025 budget in 2026, sure, you're not progressing. We are retrogressing, and then government might not have a clear path towards achieving its development goals. And we understand for every government we have the national development plans. So what do we have to set up for in achieving the goals for our national development plans? So it's a whole lot. So for me, I feel what I put forth in terms of misalignment, in terms of transparency, is something we can look into. It's something Nigerian can easily and carefully address. But until that, we still battle. We still have to battle, because at this point we ought to be thinking of at least, let's say, 40% implementation of 2026 budget, but the 2026 budget is even yet to start running in terms of implementation. So those are the difficult steps we need to really address. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So when the federal government says it intends to end budget overlapping this year, 2026, by the end of the year, we know that this is not the first time they are making such pledges to us and the country. So what needs to be done differently this year, 2026, to see that indeed this is not a thing of we will, but we have?
Okay, first of all, look at capital budget. How long will it take? For instance, the 2026, we've not started implementation of the capital component of 2026 budget. And we are ready by Monday now, will be half the year. So we have 6 months. So were you going to implement the budget in 6 months? And then how would you start preparing? So the funds, the question you asked is the revenue projection for 2026 budget. I think it's a budget of almost 68 trillion, over 68 trillion. So do you have the revenue handy now to fund all the capital projects? That's the question you ask the government. Like I said, beyond promises, we need to be very realistic. And until we become realistic, until we choose the path of realism, setting realistic ambition, setting realistic assumptions and projections for revenue, I think that puts many promises. Can we go to X, Y, Z, but then the pathway to achieving that is not really there. So it's important we all address that and set that in motion. So until then, we'll still have to battle and we'll still have to struggle. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. We've been talking Nigeria's overlapping budget with a fellow of Center for Study of Economies of Africa, Tony Bisso. Thank you for your time and your brain on this matter.
Right.
All right, we'll observe a break now, and when the program returns, it would be Kakaaki Social O'Clock. Stay.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Kakaaki Social. It's Wednesday and we've got the hottest trends. I am Chidera Isudoi. Now let's get social. But before then, I missed you all yesterday as much as you missed me, but I'm here to make it up to you. Okay? Now let's get started. The former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has condemned the remand of activist and publisher Omole Sowore, describing it as a dangerous regression for Nigeria's democracy. Now, in a statement, Obi warned that suppressing dissenting voices undermines democratic values and weakens public confidence in the nation's institutions. He also called on authorities to ensure that justice is administered fairly and in line with constitutional principles, stressing that democracy flourishes when citizens can freely express their opinions without fear or favor. Let's see the reactions going on social media. Now, Oyewale is saying when we begin to treat citizens, critics, activists, and journalists as threats to state survival rather than partners in building accountability, we signal a dangerous slide towards authoritarianism. Our current challenges, ranging from economic strain to internal security vulnerabilities, require inclusive dialogue and cohesive nation building, not the incarceration of those who demand a better society. Our beloved country will be very okay under this exceptional leadership of Peter Obi. He's referring to Peter Obi there. Now, this user says, when will it end? The law isn't working on how it should be. The judge and all involved in implementing the proper judicial process are all also on APC's paid check. There should be a non-biased ruling. Haba, now wow, Nigeria, they do us. They no do us a bit. Now, Youth in Process is saying, the real question is why is he being sent to prison at this particular moment when voter registration is entering its final days? Is this merely a coincidence or a distraction from the ongoing registration exercise? Many social activists remain silent about voter registration, yet on election day, they appear at polling units to complain about low turnout. And the last reaction is from Benjamin, who says, the person that wrote this piece is far from the reality of governance. Do you think having self-pity for Sowore will make him to like you or not call you out? Instead of you to look at the substance of his trial, you are here supporting you're supporting him. And the last reaction is from Godfrey, who is reminding Peter Obi of a tweet that Sowore made sometime. And he says, Peter Obi tried to be wicked sometimes. Do you still remember this tweet from this man? Now, this was a tweet by Sowore calling Peter Obi out, and a lot of persons are saying Peter Obi is standing up for Sowore despite how Sowore has treated him in the past. But let's continue. Governor Abu Kefas has come under criticism after reducing the monthly salaries of street sweepers in Taraba State from 15,000 naira to 10,000 naira. Now, according to the governor, this salary adjustment is aimed at creating room in the state's wage bill to accommodate newly employed civil servants, while the government maintains the move is necessary to sustain employment growth, critics argue that vulnerable workers should not bear the burden of expanding the workforce of the state. Now, let's see what netizens are saying. Now, Uduak is saying, are you kidding me? 15,000 naira could barely do anything, and now it is slashed to 10,000 naira. Why can't he slash his own to accommodate the newly employed? And the truth is saying this 10,000 naira has to be weekly payments, because there's no way a full-grown adult in this country will be waiting 30 days to collect 10,000 naira. It just has to be daily or weekly. Now let's continue. Now this user is saying, many of you are talking because you don't understand. Taraba has many sweepers. Imagine a classroom and it is having 20 sweepers. What are they sweeping? Many of them are not even coming to work at all. Cutting it to 10,000 naira is okay because they have alternative jobs. And Akin is saying, why is it that we never hear something like this? Nigerian politicians have taken a bold step by cutting their salaries and allowances for the greater good of the country. Wouldn't it be refreshing to see our leaders prioritizing national progress over personal gain? It will be very interesting to see that. And Hydra is saying, I pity no one, because those people that their salaries were slashed are the same people that will be supporting the APC government. I no longer pity people in Nigeria. It's okay, but let us continue. Our dear President Bola Tinubu says the administration is laying foundation for a new Nigeria that works for all citizens. Now, speaking on the progress of his government, the president stated that ongoing economic and institutional reforms are designed to build a more prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future for the country. The president also acknowledged the current challenges, but maintained that the tough decisions being implemented today are necessary to secure long-term goal growth and national development. Let's see how netizens are reacting. Now, Igbo Chronicles is saying the foundation is measured by results, not promises. Nigerians are still battling high inflation, rising food prices, unemployment, and a cost of living crisis. If the foundation is truly being laid for a Nigerian that works for all, just so you know, Mr. President, ordinary citizens can only feel the impact of the pain daily. And still reacting, Yaro is saying, Mr. President, many Nigerians are still asking if the foundation for a new Nigeria is being laid. While the kidnappings, bandit attacks, and killings continue across several states, what measurable progress can citizens point to today regarding security? And when should Nigerians expect to feel safer in their communities? And the final reaction from the audio-visual says, now every time they hear say, then they lay foundation, the other foundation that they laid previously collapse. He wished to ask, but it's not a funny situation in the country. But then let us continue. The Department of State Services, DSS, has formally closed its case against the former Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, in his ongoing wiretapping trial before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Now, during proceedings, the court rejected El-Rufai's request for a review of his bail conditions, ruling that the existing requirements remain valid. Now, following prosecution's decision to close this case, the defense announced plans to file a no-case submission, arguing that the evidence presented is insufficient to sustain the charges. Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik has adjourned the matter until September 22nd, 2026 for hearing and countdown continuing of the proceedings. Let's see how netizens are reacting to this. Now, the truth is saying, I have a feeling that we will see a former governor in Kuje prison to serve his sentence. El-Rufai and Shawara cases are good examples of don't let your ego and big mouth put you in jail. Young Nigerians should learn that there is a difference between freedom of speech and having a big mouth. Now, El Tama is saying there is no civil servant in level 17 close to retirement that will come forward and expose himself. They just want Malam locked till after the elections. And still reacting, Shego says bail adjustment rejected. Trial continues on September 26, very close to the general election. Does it mean Malam will not be available during the period preceding the election proper? Well, I can only say that may God not allow our mouth put us into trouble. I think we have one more reaction from Ice Baron, who says, I will be voting Tinubu come 2027. Now, that said, I honestly dislike the injustice and politically motivated detention of El-Rufai. The freedom to disagree with government policies and government officials, to me, is not a crime against the state. El-Rufai is a disruptive leader whom I admire. Now, continuing away from that, the Federal Airport Authorities of Nigeria has demanded that directed airport cab operators across the country to replace older vehicles with newer models as part of efforts to improve passenger experience and safety. Now, FAN says all operators must comply with the directive before October 2026, which has been set as the final deadline for the fleet's upgrade. The authority noted that the move is aimed at modernizing the airport transportation services and ensuring higher standards for travelers using Nigeria's airport. Operators who fail to meet this deadline risk losing their operative permits within the airport premises. Now, let's see how netizens have been reacting to all of that. Now, Bola says this is a business opportunity for asset leasing operators to provide financing for the newer cars. It is global standard to have decent cars at the airport for cab services. Now, Staffman is saying, understandable. However, the policy should not place an excessive financial burden on existing operators. Give access to low-interest vehicles financing scheme, a phased implementation plan amongst others. And still reacting, Shay says a 3-month deadline to upgrade cars that are a means of livelihood in a country where almost everyone complains of economic hardship. Go government. I think we have one more reaction now, that is that. Our final story is coming from Rivers State, where the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State, Olubenga Adeboju, has ordered the immediate removal of illegal roadblocks across the state and warned officers against extortion and other forms of misconduct. Now, during a statewide inspection of checkpoints and major highways, the police commissioner dismantled unauthorized roadblocks and directed officers to carry out stop and check operations without causing unnecessary traffic disruptions. Let's see this video.
I can't read it. It's eating all over. An SPO, ASP, this rank.
See the place of my...
Is that why you wear slippers and you're on the road?
Because of the rain. Because of the rain.
Let me see your belt. Let me see the belt you are wearing. Let me see the kind of belt you are wearing.
Because of the rain.
Let me see the kind of belt you are wearing to your uniform. Wait. Is this police belt?
Is it Ania? Ania is one.
You are a very responsible officer.
See the Ania here.
Get his details. Where are you serving? Don't talk in no. Where are you serving? Where are you serving, my friend? Keep quiet. Stop that nonsense.
Safe highway. Safe highway.
They tell you to be disgracing yourself. You are disgracing yourself. You are not fit to wear that rank. Get his details for me.
What's your AP number?
You. Why do you block road? Go and remove those things first. Why did you block that road? I'm talking to you.
This man is not a policeman.
No crest, though.
He's not a policeman.
No, are you a policeman?
He's not.
No, it's not true.
He's not a policeman.
Let me see your crest.
Sir, he's not a policeman. He's not a policeman.
What's your first number?
2417.
When did he join the police?
Call on again. Call on.
Is he a policeman?
No. Call on again. He's not a policeman. Call. 2 what?
24. 17. 34.
Look at his own name tag. He's woven, he's cursive this thing. This one, they are not in the police. Are you a serving policeman?
Yes, sir.
Kai, this video sweets me, eh? But let's see how you all are reacting on social media. Now, Alex says, police see police, police they chic. All these bad police, una go learn new thing. And King Kisama is saying election is coming and everyone seems to be working and doing the right thing. This country is not a joke. Now, continuing, another reaction from Solutions Limited says, kudos to the police inspector, the Commissioner of Police of Rivers State. All police nationwide should do this regularly as a means of discipline and sanitation of the entire Nigerian police force. Just imagine wearing slippers no name tags. In fact, fake name tags. It is well with us in Nigeria. And the last user says, I love everything this commissioner is doing. Trust me, we all love it here in the studio. Now, that is how we wrap up the segment today on this Wednesday morning on Kakaaki Social. You can reach us via the social media handles displayed on the screen. My name is Chidera Ezudoi. See you same time tomorrow and have a blessed Wednesday.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces. Salute their gallantry. Stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
The FIFA World Cup 2026 is here. Watch all 104 matches live on StarTimes, from the opening match to the final showdown.
And this time, it's not just watching, it's watch and win.
Subscribe or buy a StarTimes decoder and stand a chance to win the 10 million naira grand prize, plus many exciting prizes nationwide, with subscription packages starting from just 4,000 naira. Recharge now via StarTimes app or visit any StarTimes office or dealer outlet near you.
StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
No worry, he said go make am. Mogo Bible.
Victor, even you, they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Nigeria has survived everything, not because we are lucky, but because in the hardest moment, when the news breaks and the grief is raw, someone somewhere makes a choice.
To confirm before spreading panic. To empathize rather than assign blame. To hold when everything inside said, poof.
For terrorism is not only the attack that sparks our outrage. Terrorism is also the choices that follow, the ones that feed division and erode the bonds of nationhood and patriotism that hold us together as Nigerians.
Let us choose to defeat terror, one division at a time. Take a pause. Choose Nigeria.
Let's all unite against terror.
Working People United presents the Good Governance Summit 2026, a high-level national dialogue bringing together government leaders, labor stakeholders, policymakers, and development partners to shape a more inclusive future for Nigeria. Theme: Policies and Governance, Impact on the Working People. Chairing the occasion is the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, as special guest of honor. Joining them are Honorable Ministers
leaders, including the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Anike Lokobere, Barrister Iyesom Wike, Engineer David Umahi, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and General Christopher Musa. Keynote addresses will be delivered by Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka and Senator Shehu Sani. Date is Thursday, June 25, 2026, 10 a.m. at the Shehu Musa Yaradua Center, Abuja. Working People United Good Governance Summit 2026, a movement for a better Nigeria.
All right, welcome back from Kakaaki Social. Definitely is the fourth Wednesday in the month of June, and that makes it Kakaaki Cancer Awareness on the program. We would be doing this with our partner, the Commod Cancer Foundation, and the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Denise Ejo, will be beaming her spotlight on how best a family as a unit can navigate the situation when cancer enters the family. Together with our guest, Mide Agbola, who is a female engineer and more importantly, a cancer survivor, they would do this. Good morning, Dr. Ejo.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you too?
I'm good. You're looking very good. I always tell you this. Whenever I see you, you're coming very bright.
I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
No, don't try that. Yeah.
All right.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. So you're discussing how to navigate as a family when cancer enters the family.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Here we go. Thank you. Morning, viewers. Morning. Hello and welcome to another edition of Common Cancer Awareness with Denise Ejo in partnership with AIT. Together we fight, together we win. I am, as I said, Dr. Denise Ejo, the CEO of Common Cancer Foundation. So June is Survivors Month, a time when we celebrate every person who has faced cancer with courage, every family that has stood beside a loved one through treatment, and every caregiver whose quiet sacrifice often goes unnoticed. Cancer is never just one person's journey. When someone receives a diagnosis, the entire family begins a journey together. Parents, spouses, children, siblings, friends, and even neighbors often become part of the treatment. Today we're talking about when cancer enters the home, how families survive the journey together. Very crucial part of our lives. And joining me to discuss this is someone whose story speaks of resilience, hope, and determination. Mide Agbola is an electrical engineer, a talented crafter, a passionate advocate for treatment choice in cancer care, and a cancer survivor. She's also the proud mother of 2 children, including a second child whom she welcomed after completing her cancer treatment. Mide, good morning. It's very nice to see you. It's very nice to hear your voice after me harassing you.
Good morning, Dr. Denise. How are you doing? Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't think the studio realized somebody's mic is on.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I'm trying to get them to know that somebody's mic is on, so let's keep going. Thank you, Mide. That we're talking about this.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay, so let's start very briefly, and this is very key for me in this conversation. Before we talk about families, I'd love our viewers to know you. So can you briefly share your own cancer story and what life looked like before your diagnosis?
Okay. So I knew about cancer before I was diagnosed. I actually knew what cancer was, but not because I had experienced it in any of my close relatives or anyone. I just knew what it was. And I had been doing self breast checks, which is why I noticed a lump in the first place, so it wasn't it wasn't out of the blue, so to speak, Well, let me not say out of the blue, but I wasn't confused about what I was hearing and, what my doctors were saying and all of that. The interesting thing is maybe a month before I found a lump, my sister called and said she had a dream and that I told her I had cancer, which was very weird. I'm like, why would you be having that kind of dream? So of course we started binding and casting and started trying to figure out like this is not for me, what happened, blah blah blah. So anyway, I was 32. I was in Makurdi. I was on a project. And my 7-month-old at the time was with my parents. So I was expressing milk and just trying to store the milk that I would give him, or at least try to keep my breast active because I was actively breastfeeding. And then there was a gush of blood. So a month, I think 2 months after I had my first child, I noticed blood in my breast milk. So I went to a breast surgeon at the hospital that was close to us. And he was like, oh, it's because you're an older mother. Your breasts are working for the first time. Fix your face. It's loud.
Sorry.
He said it's because you're an older, because I mean, to be fair, right? He felt for a lump and didn't feel anything. So there's nothing for him to base it on. But he said it's because you're an older mother, you're having your first child after 30, your breasts are working for the first time. So they are shocked, essentially. So that was what the blood was about. And I mean, in his defense, the bleeding stopped after like 2 weeks or so. So I was like, okay, there's nothing to worry about. But then I saw this lump and it's like, okay, that's not what the plan was and everything. But the interesting thing was I immediately cut my journey short and I went back home. I went to find a doctor that I was comfortable with. And I went into the doctor's office and I saw a cross-section of a breast. And I was like, okay, I feel very comfortable. I think I'm in the right place. So I had a lumpectomy done. It was confirmed to be cancerous, but it was very early stage, DCIS in situ. And then the lab asked for a wider excision, which we provided. So I had 2 lumpectomies, which was very frustrating. Then after the lab confirmed that the margins were clean, but it was showing signs of being invasive, the doctor gave me multiple options. He says, you can do hormonal therapy, you can do chemo, you can do radiotherapy, you can do a conservative mastectomy or do a full mastectomy. So I turned to my husband and I'm like, guy, I feel most comfortable with the mastectomy. I will be one-breasted, but I will be cancer-free. And the one question he asked me was, will you be alive? And that was the decision maker for me. I was just like, yeah, let's just do the mastectomy and get it over with. And the blessing about it was there were lymph nodes taken out as well. And all of the margins were clean, the lymph nodes were clean. So it was caught very early. I didn't need to do any other treatment after doing the mastectomy because according to the doctor, it was like using a sledgehammer to kill an ant. But it was what gave me the comfort that I needed, to be sure that, okay, I've made the right decision regarding this treatment.
Wow, you see, your story is very different and it's very nice to hear it from different perspectives. All our cancer stories are very different and a lot of times people don't realize there are if somebody got the diagnosis early, what could happen? Okay, and based on this now, the question I was about to say to you was, and I'm still going to ask you, but we're going to take it from a different perspective now. So now the cancer diagnosis affects more than one person. And one person that it affected in your house immediately was your husband, who said, "Are you going to die?" You know, a lot of wives don't say that about their own husbands. Majority in our space, at least we both understand this space.
Yeah.
So, how did it change the emotional and financial and social life of your family? Especially, and the key one is, what do you believe any Nigerian families experience once it enters the home? I know what the experience for my children. I want to hear what you experience for yours, and maybe we can put something together if there are any missing. Yeah?
Okay. So, you know how we have that African proverb that says that it takes a village to raise a child? It never stops taking a village. I think that's what cancer has taught me. It never stops being the case. Because even though my own line of treatment was, for lack of a better word, straightforward, it was still very expensive. I was getting treated in a private hospital in Victoria Island, which is even more expensive than the private hospital in Ikeja. So just that alone was a lot of, I couldn't afford it. It wasn't something that I had savings in my bank, or my husband had savings in the bank for. So we still had to reach out to family. We still had to let people know what was going on. And to be honest, anytime I say the story, I just thank God for the families that I have. That's on my own side and on my husband's side, because my mom was ready to donate her breast for me so that I would not be I will not be one-breasted. She's like, there's nothing I'm using it for again. I've cuckoo had all my children, but you're the one that's good, and people that heard what I was going through, I didn't even know. By the time that people started sending us money, I didn't even know how much I needed, So it was a village effort. And for anyone who is going through cancer, it can't be done alone. Doesn't matter how resourceful or how much the person has, or how comfortable they are, or it doesn't matter how independent they are. It never really can be done alone. Because I remember after my surgery, I was in my mother-in-law's house, and there were just so many hands. I don't remember what was going on. There was my hospital room was full. Everybody was coming to the hospital to say hello, to check on me, to help me take a shower, to do all sorts of things. And then in my mother-in-law's house, which is very far in Lagos, I was surprised at the people that were coming to visit me at the house, to make sure that I had everything I needed, bringing food, bringing some people, because I still had a 1-year-old. By the time I did my surgery, my child was 1 and a few months. So there are people that will come and just, let me carry your baby while you're resting. So it never stops taking a village. And the major difference between people who struggle with cancer and people who survive it or who go through it relatively easier is support. It's not money. Money is, yes, if you think about it, raising a person, or in the context of taking a village to raise a child, raising a person is multifaceted. Yes, there is the financial part of it, there's morals, there's resources, there's love, there's guidance, and all of that. But the love is what holds everything else together, if you ask me.
Yeah,
because
I think
you can go through treatment and still not feel complete.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now. So when you talk about cancer treatment, and the fact that it places an enormous burden on finances in homes, and we both know that a lot of families break up, if not
Oh,
for
yeah.
anything. And I always say this thing. A lot of people get annoyed with me that cancer patients are the most expensive begging community in the world. People get
It's the
annoyed.
absolute truth.
But a lot of people get annoyed with me that how can you say that? And I'm like, it's not so much about the treatment. People forget that our begging is not about the treatment, but rather about everything else. Our children, like you're saying, it wasn't about you alone. It was people coming, people. Okay, so what practical advice would you give a family trying to balance treatment, works, families, their family life, their children, their household bills? This is a very interesting question because on hindsight, if I ask myself, I didn't know how to balance it. I want to be honest with myself. Do you think you have any strategies to balance it? I think I'm only balancing it now.
Balancing, that's a tough one. Because I think, and this may be this may be an African problem because we're not very good at sharing our issues, right? Don't know which evil spirit is going to find out that you have cancer now and use it against you. So I think that this is more an African, because I mean, if you observe.
Okay, well, let me just rephrase this. Would you put the issues of balancing down to stigmatization?
Absolutely. Well, no. Let me not say absolutely.
No, I wouldn't say absolutely. I would say partially.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that I don't think it's absolutely. I'll say maybe like 70%, because people don't want to share. I mean, for you to really, for lack of a better word, spread out to balance, right? It means that everybody needs to know what's going on with you. Or at least a lot of people that are not outside your immediate circle need to know what's going on with you. And you're not worrying about, okay, am I going to now be telling everybody that I have cancer? I mean, we know of people in our community that their blood relatives don't know that they had cancer, and I mean, during the summit, one of the panelists was saying that she didn't tell her parents, she didn't tell her immediate family because she's like, they can't handle it. And she didn't think that they would be useful for her in her decision making or providing support. Like, she needs somebody that she can cry, a shoulder that she can cry on. She doesn't want to be petting anybody, which is the reality of a lot of people. Which is why sometimes maybe what you need is not in your immediate circle. You may need to spread out a bit. And that's where the issue of how many people do I want to tell? Am I sure that I can trust those people? But with respect to how to balance it, there has to be should I say, an understanding on the part of the families that are going through cancer treatment, where they agree that, okay, you know what, this thing does not define us. It may be what we're going through right now, but it is not the definition of who we are. And in that case, we need to be willing to accept help from wherever it comes, especially from people we trust.
So this is Survivors Month. Give me top three priorities. So it's priority advice for anybody that has just been diagnosed today. the focus. Let's focus. When we talk about this thing, we have to be very focused on what people are going to take away. What lessons? Just give me.
Okay. First thing is act immediately. Don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pray. Don't go to the mountain and not do anything. Pray that God will make your treatment in the hospital work. That's where faith and medicine, in my opinion, that's where faith and medicine mix. Secondly, tell somebody, or at least tell people. Build a community around you, a community of people that you can trust, that for a fact, every step of the way, you can depend on them to be there for you. Third, ask your family to get tested. I think those would be the top three things, because we're seeing a lot of genetics in cancer and all of that. Which is interesting because nobody in my bloodline had cancer, at least for the 3 previous generations before me. So I don't.
You answered my last question I wanted for you. Okay. And it's very interesting because I was waiting, genetics and involvement, and it made me immediately ask myself, my goodness, Denise, you've had this thing for 10 years. Have you asked your family to be tested? Honestly, I haven't. And that is bad considering I am an advocate and I make a lot of noise about it. No. I think I haven't because I am in an environment where if there was supposed to be an issue, they would have said to me,
they would have told you,
you need to get tested. I think that's why I've taken it for granted. But actually, I love that. Get tested if you come from a family that has ever had a cancer diagnosis, just to make sure you're on the safe side. Wow, thank you very much. Mide, you see, I told you that whenever we have these conversations, they're a lot easier than you think. I'm very happy because I listened to you and I asked myself, Denise, what did you discuss and what were your key things? And it just shows that all our issues, all our drives are almost the same. The only difference is our experiences bring out different goods and different bads. And I'm glad that you are one of the few people, if not the only person that's ever been on my show to actually talk about this cancer journey from a positive perspective. Most people have had a very, very negative experience. And that's why I'm glad you're on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a very insightful conversation. And I pray that this gives hope to anybody who's newly diagnosed, that you can fight this thing. I've been cancer-free for 7 years.
You see, you are cancer-free, I'm in it, but we're still smiling, right? So to those of you out there, look at us, we're still smiling. Mide, thank you very much for sharing your journey and with honesty and courage. I really appreciate you. And
thank you very much.
Tell him that I said that we appreciate him because honestly, a lot of husbands just run away from this.
They just run away.
They run away. And today's conversation reminds us that while cancer affects one person physically, it touches an entire family. Emotionally, socially, and financially. Yet with love, good information, timely treatment, and strong support, families can find strength together. So as we mark Survivors Month, we're getting towards the end of it. Firstly, I would like us to honor every survivor, every caregiver, and every family who has walked beside a loved one. Your resilience matters, your voice matters, and your stories give hope to others. For if you notice any unusual changes in your body, please, not just breast. Breasts are the ones that people talk about a lot more, but a lot of other cancer diagnoses are out there.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Denise Ejo, and her guest, Mide Agbola, looking at the role of family when cancer enters the family. At about now, we have entertainment and lifestyle.
Good morning. It's a Wednesday edition of Entertainment and Lifestyle on Kakaaki, the African Voice. I am Anu Awojobi. You're welcome. Let's take you to Ibadan, southwest Nigeria, at the twins marry twins ceremony, a not too common wedding where the Adediran sisters Taiwo and Kehinde said I do to the Oguntoye twins. Yes, Tai and Kenny Adediran over the weekend walked down the aisle arm in arm with their father at a holy matrimony service. The grooms, Taiwo and Kehinde Oguntoye, are said to have built careers around the promotion of twin culture, having found the twins' world creations and the twin tourism in celebration of twins born in the southwest region. It was a dream come true for the twin brothers, who have always wanted to get married to a set of twin sisters on the same day. Nice one. From AIT Entertainment and Lifestyle, I say hearty congratulations to the Oguntoyes. World Plantain Day was June 5, so we are a bit late to the party. But honestly, plantain deserves more than one day. Africans, Caribbeans, Latin Americans, pretty much everyone with a frying pan knows this fruit is special.
Plantain is universal. That's why we say plantain without borders. Almost everybody eats plantain. Like, plantain does not need a passport to move around. Plantain is everywhere. So we just decided plantain needs its own day. That's why we are celebrating Dodo Gang Festival, Plantain Festival.
Plantain, you can create anything with plantain. Plantain goes with a lot of things, with rice, swallow. You can use plantain as a swallow. You can use plantain to eat as porridge. You can use plantain with rice. I mean, plantain without borders. You can use plantain to bake. You can make bread with it. You can make a drink from plantain. So it goes beyond.
Plantain's basically banana's tougher cousin. Bigger, thicker, not as sweet and way more versatile. It's packed with vitamins, minerals and fiber, which is great for digestion. No wonder so many cultures built meals around it. This year's theme was Plantain Without Borders, put together by the Dodo Gang worldwide. The idea: plantain connects us, different countries, same love for good food. You can fry it, boil it, roast it as boli, slice it into chips, blend into smoothies, pound it, and even roll it into ball food. However you do it, it just works.
Plantain without borders means to me as a vendor is the fact that everybody loves plantain. Everywhere, like around the world, everybody like always wants to like, plantain is something that brings people together, you understand? So when we are doing this event of Plantain Without Borders, we plantain vendors are happy to be here because plantain brings everybody together.
Yummy, right? In Lagos, foodies and fun seekers in Surulere were out celebrating World Plantain Day the best way they know how, eating, laughing, and sharing plates.
Celebrating the culture of plantain, because here in Nigeria we eat a lot of meals with plantain. Right now I've had plantain with pium and matching ground, and I've also had a plantain boba tea.
So I had volley, which is like roasted plantain and chicken. I loved it. It was really nice and well seasoned. I actually love plantain so much. I can eat plantain in any form, but mostly fried.
Some eat it ripe, and others prefer the green and unripe ones. And they say it comes with huge nutritional and health benefits.
When you think about plantain and the versatility of plantain, it should be celebrated. It's not just the fruit itself. When you think about the whole plant, the leaves, the stems, the roots, and not just the plant itself, the ways you can use plantain. I think in places like Uganda, places like Kenya, people are making herbs from plantain plants, from plantain roots. People are even the tree itself, like the stem, people are using those for medicine. And not even the peels, plantain peels, when you cut off a plantain, the peels, I think it has a lot of potassium in it. You can use that too for drugs. So plantain is just so versatile.
However you eat it, plantain is one of those fruits that keeps you giving.
My name is Njideka Kunyele Crosby, and I am a visual artist.
Let's take you to Chicago, Illinois, United States, where the creative work of Los Angeles resident Nigerian-born visual artist Njideka Akunyele Crosby has caught global attention with the creation of a portrait of the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, and his wife, Michelle, which has been displayed at the Hope and Change lobby of the newly unveiled Obama Presidential Center.
My only real question is, how come you didn't dye my hair in the photo?
The masterpiece, which reflects different chapters of the Obamas, is the first joint portrait of the couple at the museum. Njideka Akunyele Crosby, who hails from Anambra State, southeast Nigeria, is the daughter of the late Professor of Pharmacology, Dora Akunyele, Nigeria's former Director General, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, NAFDAC. Njideka, a graduate of the Yale University of Arts, New Haven, Connecticut, United States, negotiates the cultural terrain between her adopted home in the United States and her fatherland, Nigeria, through drawings, paintings, collage, and pictures. Still in the United States, where Philadelphia, Pennsylvania-born comic act Kevin Hart has taken a legal action against American comedian, broadcaster, and YouTuber Tasha K and his former assistant Misha Shakes over an interview that was shared on Tasha K's social media platforms. The lawsuit stems from allegations that the interview contained damaging falsehoods about Kevin Hart, including claims of a secret video and supposed criminal charges, all of which Hart has denied. Tasha K has been accused of attempting to extort $250,000 from Hart to stop the interview's publication, which Kevin Hart declined. But he got the law enforcement and his legal team to issue a cease and desist letter to Tasha K. In spite of the measures, Tasha K allegedly went ahead to release the interview. Wow. It's time to say goodbye on the entertainment and lifestyle segment of Kakaaki, the African Voice. I am Anu Awood.
All right, thank you so much for that package. And indeed, that's how we call it a day. But the Plantain Festival was my highlight of that package. And it definitely reminded me, as a core member in Akwa Ibom State, the Pyom Pyom Parade that we did. All right, thank you. Political Platform is up next. It will be at 9 a.m. I am on Noshorena Obozege. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, AIT_live, and AIT Livestream 1 on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
The issue issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should sit back and go. Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Jufo runs her multiple e-commerce businesses in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Her business is known as drop shipping, a business model where products are sold online without the need for a so-called brick-and-mortar facility where those products are stored and processed. It involves the management of e-commerce inventory and affiliate marketing, where she promotes online products for other businesses. Ajufo started her online business in 2022 with less than $50.
Let's say I started